Right, okay. So, now's the chemical part. First of all, though, we just get all our PPE on. There are gloves over here. There's large ones here, or medium-sized ones over on the side. Obviously, you don't want to get the stuff in your hands. Yeah, find the one that's the right size for you. I've already said to you about the eye washes, where they're located in case you get anything in your eyes.
Do we need lab coats?
We got lab coats as well, mainly just to it's just to protect you, get that on your skin, but also the chemicals stain your clothes really bad and they don't smell very good. So it's as much to protect your clothing as it is to protect your skin. That's some goggles. Have we got any of these in my size? They look bad, but they do actually get cleaned regularly. It's just you can't get the stains out. Okay, and then we got some goggles as well. Grab some of those bad boys. Yeah, that's all we need PPE wise. So the chemical process, you're going to go in order down through each chemical, applying each one individually. You're not going to mix them together, put it that way. First of all, we've got the developer, which is in this box here. We've mixed it up. At the moment it's neat, it's completely undiluted, because you can dilute it to different amounts if you want to, but just bear that in mind. You will have to mix it with water. So that's the developer, that's ID11. Then we've got the stop in here, and the fix, and the wetting agent. These ones are already diluted and mixed up, so you just take as much as you need, put it back again. You don't have to do anything with those. The basic idea is that, yeah, you're going to apply them in series. They're all going to do different things. So the developer, if you imagine at the moment your piece of film inside your tank, you've taken a photograph, and basically all your film is little particles of silver. Some of those particles of silver, those little grains, some of them have been hit by light and exposed to light. So if you imagine you took a photograph of the moon, all this in the background is black, so no light's hit that. The only bit that's been hit by light is here where the moon is. So all those particles, they've been hit by light, and it actually changes them slightly chemically into a slightly different form of silver. So the developer only reacts with those bits of silver that have been exposed to light. And what it does is it causes those to grow into black crystals, and that gives you the black part of your negative. The important thing with developing is that we do it the correct amount, because if you don't do it enough, you're going to end up with those crystals won't grow big enough or black enough, and that's what gives you a kind of a flat negative, a grey sort of see-through negative. If you develop too much, they're going to grow too big, they're going to get really black, really big, and that's where you overdevelop. They grow too much, and you get really grainy, really harsh results. You lose any detail. So the most important thing in this whole process is getting the development correct. Now there's three things that affect the development: time, temperature, and concentration. So the time is your developing time, and as I said earlier, we can look that up, and it tells you in all the charts, depending on what kind of film you've got, what developing time you're going to need to use. You want to be as accurate as possible. Most people just do it on their phones. Some people look at the clock, but it's very easy to forget where you were when you're counting minutes on a clock. We do have some mechanical timers knocking about. Actually, they might all be broken now. We have got some timers here somewhere which we can get, but yeah, most people just use their phone. Temperature. As I said again earlier, the temperature of all the water in these taps should be 20 degrees. Most developing takes place at 20 degrees. There are some exceptions, so just double check when you look through the book for your time. Just checking this one here, because for example that one says 21 degrees, and they do vary slightly, but normally it'll be 20. Double check with a thermometer if you've got one. It's always good to get that right. concentration, that's how much we dilute the developer. So for today we're going to mix it 50-50 with water. You can try different dilutions, and if you change the dilution you're going to have to change the time to make up for it. But it'll give you slightly different results. So generally a harsher, stronger solution with developer, so if you just used it neat, it'll give you a very quick development, but it'll give you much harsher results. If you want to get as fine detail as possible, as fine grain as possible, you give it a very diluted mixture. Do it for a long time. But yeah, we're going to do it 50-50. So that's what the developer does. This is the bit where we want to concentrate, get that correct, be accurate. The stop, which is the next chemical, is just a weak acid, and all that does is it neutralizes that chemical reaction that's taken place in the development. So it just allows you to be really accurate with how long the development goes on for. Because as soon as you pour that liquid in, it just stops it dead. It kills it. So that's the next stage. And the fix is going to wash away any undeveloped silver in the film. So we've got all this part here in our picture of the moon, that's all been developed, but we've still got all the leftover silver in the background that never got developed. And that's just that grey part in your film. And in actual fact, it's what we were looking at earlier for this. All that grey in your film is just all the silver that's knocking around.
Yeah.
So the fix washes that away and gives you the clear part of your negative. So if it's the clear part of your negative, it's the dark part of your photograph. It's always the reverse. With these two steps, the time is the same regardless. Regardless of what film you use, they're already mixed up for you. You don't have to be as accurate with those ones, but still, pay attention to what you're doing. But yeah, that's kind of the theoretical side of this. So what's really interesting about working with hand tanks is that you can tweak your recipe, or whatever you want to call it, your process here, to get different results. So you might want to overdevelop your film slightly to get a different look, to get a slightly more contrasty, more punchy result in your film. And you can do that if you want, and you can try different ways of doing it. You could give it a little bit longer, you could raise the temperature slightly, use a slightly stronger concentration, whatever it is you want to do. And you can't do that on the machines. So that's why this is in some ways a better system for processing your film. Does that make sense? Yeah? Any questions at all? All happy with how that works? I can actually show you how this sort of, what this actually looks like at the end. So these are some negatives. This is HB5 film. And the middle one I've developed for the correct amount of time. So that's had 13 minutes and everything's been standard. The top one's underdeveloped. I only did it for 5 minutes. So you can see it's really kind of see-through. And the way you can really assess it is to look, you see this barcode runs along the edge and the text at the top. That's the bit you want to look at, because that's the same on every single roll of film. So as long as that's looking nice and dark and clear, you're good. But you can see in the top one it's kind of grey and see-through, so that's definitely underdeveloped. Now the bottom one I did for 20 minutes, which is overdeveloped, but not by a huge amount. It sounds like it is, because 7 minutes extra, but actually, because as the development goes on, it gets less and less intense, if you know what I mean? It gets weaker as it goes along. So actually, 7 minutes extra isn't a huge amount. And you can see it's not a massive amount. It is overdeveloped, but not extremely. You'd have to go really far to really ruin it. What you would probably find in this case is that the sky there, you will just lose detail in the sky if it's there. It's just gone too far. So generally overdeveloped negatives blow out the highlights. But if you're going to do one or the other, you want to make sure if you're going to make a mistake, it's better to overdevelop than it is to underdevelop. Yeah? But this is what we're making anyway, so this is going to be a good guide. When we finish, you can compare your negatives against these. Right, let's get started. So, you've all got your tanks. And we're going to need this measuring jugs. So I'm going to do it, and if you guys do it at the same time, we'll just sort of do it like a bit of a chain. Everyone's sort of following the next person. Get this out of the way. So first of all, we need to measure out developer and mix it with water. Find an appropriate sized jug. You're going to need to know how much liquid you need to cover your film. That varies from hand tank to hand tank, but for these ones, it actually tells you on the bottom. So it says for one roll of 35ml, you're going to need 290 millilitres of whatever liquid it is you're putting in there.
Yeah.
And that's how much you need to cover your film.
So that's of the two chemicals mixed together?
Yeah, or whatever it is, the total solution needs to cover that much. So let's just say 300 to make this easy. We know it's at least 290. So that means we're going to need 150 ml of developer mixed with 150 of water. So always give it a little rinse out. And again, try and be accurate here. If you pour too much out, just chuck the excess down the sink. Don't worry too much about it. Okay, so I've got more 150 in developer. What's this one? Yeah, that's 300 there. So if you guys do the same, and then we can mix up some jugs, and then we can all start at the same time roughly. Now, developing times. So Catherine, you know yours was 7.5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You looked it up already.
Got it right down somewhere.
Good to hear, yeah. You had HP5, so your developing time, if we look up here, HP5, 400 ISO, so it's going to be 13 minutes if we're looking at 1:1 ratio, so it's that little thing there. Okay, so 13 minutes is your time, same for you, Kate. Everyone happy?
Is this one mine?
I think so. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep hold of it. That's another good reason actually to get your own hand tank.
Yeah,
because then you
to do
can
it.
put your name on it and then it doesn't get mixed up.
Yeah.
Now, if you were doing 2 rolls of film, you would just double the total amount of liquid.
Yeah,
But nothing else changes.
yeah.
Okay, so you're going to need to have something to time with as well. So if you use your phone or use the clock, or there's a timer up there. There's also one here. This one seems to work okay, so you can use that one if you like.
7 minutes.
Yeah, so you can just either start it or you can set the time first, whichever you like. Okay. You're right. What do I time with? You can either use your phone or have we got any more timers?
Is yours 13 minutes?
Yeah, yours
Yeah,
will be the
it's
same.
Yeah, we can do it together.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you want to sit?
Yeah.
So,
I'll move them.
okay, so we're going to need to start the timer as soon as you finish pouring the liquid in. And then you're going to have to put the rubber lid on top. And for the first 30 seconds, you need to be agitating continually. So when I say agitating, I mean gently rocking backwards and forwards, sort of turning as you go. You don't want to shake it up too much, otherwise you'll cause loads of bubbles. So you're going to pour the liquid in, put the lid on, start the timer, and then do this for 30 seconds. Okay? So I'll do it at the same time. Okay. Don't worry if a little bit of liquid comes out. Those lids don't seal very well always. As long as most of it stays in. Okay, so the reason we have to agitate is because you imagine you put all that liquid inside the tank, but the only bit of it that's actually doing any work is the small amount that's actually in contact with the film. And as it develops, those chemicals get exhausted. So what we do is, at regular intervals through the whole developing process, you give it a little bit of agitation, and that just refreshes the chemicals that are in contact with the film. That way it's always like fresh chemistry touching the film. So we've done it for 30 seconds. Tap it on the deck to get rid of any bubbles that might be in there. And now, every minute, you need to do it for 10 seconds. Okay? For the rest of the developing time. And that's the same for all the different chemicals. You always do the same. You do it for 10 seconds every minute. Yeah. Okay. So keep an eye on your timer. Switch that one off. It's a good idea as well in a minute to get the stop measured out already, so that once your time's up, you can pour your developer down the sink and then immediately get the stop in there.
Yeah.
Just so, because even if you pour your developer out, there'll still be some on the film, and it will continue to develop while you're measuring out the next chemical. So it's good to get it ready in advance. So 30 seconds. Do your agitation. 1 minute rather.
The stops and fix everything also 300.
It's always 300, yeah. Yeah, it's just that you've got enough to cover your film.
We don't have to dilute them once.
No, they're already mixed up for you. You can just scoop out what you need,
Yeah.
and when you're done with them, they can be poured back into those tanks, so we reuse them.
Do we need to rinse these things out?
Yeah, always rinse out before and after you use it. Yeah. So what do you think would happen if you didn't agitate?
It's not developing it.
Sorry?
It's not developing it.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the chemicals that are in contact with the film get exhausted fairly quickly, and then if you're not moving them around, it will just massively underdevelop. So yeah, you're spot on. But likewise, if you agitate too much, you get the same problem, because the chemicals never have enough time to actually work on the film. So people have different methods for it, but whatever method you have, you just need to be fairly consistent with it. So if we were going to do medium format, what would we need to change in this process?
600. The amount of liquid.
Yeah, the amount of liquid. Yeah, you're right. And it does actually tell you on the bottom of the tank as well how much you need for medium format. So for one roll of 120, it says 500 ml. But what about the rest of the process? Anything else need to change? No, it doesn't need to.
Oh, that was being said.
As long as it's the same type of film, yeah, it would be the same.
Okay.
Because you can get, if you're developing HP5 today, you can get that in either 35 ml or 120, but it would be the same developing time. It's just the total amount of liquid that changes.
Yeah.
You can also develop 5x4 film in here. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
The really big stuff. If you want to do that, you just need a different developing tank. It's a special one we've got. Just ask us, we can get it for you. But the process again is the same. Always the same. And I've got everything I'm telling you in this process is written up on the wall here. It's also on the learning space somewhere. And if you forget it, you can just come and find me anyway, and one of the technicians will talk you through through it. So if you forget anything today, don't worry about it. The other nice thing is that, have you done your machine inductions yet?
I've got mine tomorrow.
You got yours tomorrow, yeah. Okay, so the machine's very good. It does the same thing, but it does it for you.
Yeah.
But you can't make any changes. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But also, someone else could use the machine before you and make a mistake that would ruin your film. Whereas in here, you're on your own. So
Yeah.
if you're confident in what you're doing, you know that no one else can ruin it for you. It's just you.
It's your fault.
It's your fault if it goes wrong. Yeah. But it is kind of a little bit safer in that respect. But that film you've got, you're developing, what was it again?
I said 50, someone and someone.
I swear it said it was like super high contrast or
super
something.
high contrast.
Oh, we haven't got the set anymore.
Well, it's in the bin then.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Have you developed that stuff before?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't even know if it's any good or not. I just.
Well, there's only a way to find out, yeah.
We'll find out soon.
It's quite a good idea when you're working in here to kind of write down what you do each time.
Yeah.
Sort of log every single part of the process, just so that if you do something and it ends up being really cool, you can then replicate that again and again, and you understand why it happened. Otherwise, it might just be like a fluke and you can never do it again.
Mine's only got 30 seconds left now.
Okay, so you need to get ready so that when that 30 seconds is up, you can pour your developer straight down the sink and then immediately put the stop in and do the same thing with the agitating
And
again.
how many minutes is the stop?
It's 2 minutes, and it says on the lid there if you forget.
Actually, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Pop the lid on. Start the timer again. Yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see how your two films look different when they're finished. Although yours won't have anything on it, but we can still see from the text along the side how that's going to look.
Do I still need to do the 10 seconds every minute thing?
Yes.
To stop.
Yeah, that's the same for every stage. At some point I'm going to take everything on this whiteboard and just type it up and have it as like a poster in here permanently.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about somebody wiping that off one day. But if you follow that, that should work perfectly.
Yeah.
It makes me just want to wipe it off now.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes. It took me so long as well. Got to write just to figure out how to fit it all on the whiteboard and like
Yeah.
the right size and everything.
Right, so now I need to get some of that fixed.
Yeah, get you fixed. So again, that's 300. The fix is the stuff that smells bad, so you really don't want to get that on you. It's quite acidic as well. The good thing is that because it is acidic, you don't have to worry too much about getting fingerprints on your film when you're handling it in the first stage, just because it should wash off any fingerprints during this part.
Oh, you can.
No.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm putting that back in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. How many minutes is that fix?
4 minutes on there.
One of the reasons why this sort of is so important to get this correct is that when you come to do the printing in the darkroom, it's so much easier if you start off with properly developed negatives.
Yeah.
Like, if you get this wrong and you try and fix it in the darkroom, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like, once you've lost the information in the negative, it's just kind of gone. And you'd be surprised at the quality of what you can get from 35mm neg. Like, you can actually make a seriously good quality big enlargement from it. There's a hell of a lot of information there. It's just treating it well and knowing the right techniques to make the most of that information.
So I can go over there. Very good. Every time you bang your thing, it makes me want to do mine. It's like a crazy sort of.
Infectious.
Yeah.
There are some films that take absolutely ages to develop them up. So you may want to, like, if you want to experiment with those, think about bringing some music in or Dr. V or something. Alright.
So it literally goes in this for 30 seconds.
Not yet, no.
Oh,
So you finished the fixing now, yeah?
nearly.
Okay, so when the fix is finished, you can pour the fix back in the sink. Sorry, put that back.
Yeah.
We don't need that for
Oh, okay.
Once it's fixed,
Yeah.
we're just going to wash the film
Okay.
underneath the tap for like
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. So-
It's not long in 2 minutes, is it? Ah.
So as soon as this timer goes out, pour this down the sink.
The fix goes back in the
It
tank.
can get reused.
Yeah, we reuse that. That one there.
Oh, yeah,
They just put the lid there. Okay. Now you bring your tank over here, put the hose pipe through the middle, and we literally just leave the tap running. Yeah, just leave that running for 15, at least 15 minutes, and that'll just wash all the chemicals off the film. And then once that's done, we'll take the film out,
and then we
put it in there, and then let it dry. Run through that as well. But Are you happy with all of that?
Yeah, that's alright.
Yeah, most questions?
Yeah.
These guys.